Welcome, everybody, to the Blue Zone Podcast. My name is Shelly Abraham. My co-host is Juan Estrada, and we are joined by Representative Dewey McClain.
Glad to be here.
Absolutely.
So this is episode 2 of the Blue Zone Podcast. We're out here to raise public consciousness and promote progressive values. And like we said before, today we have Dewey McClain. He is the state rep for House District 109, former chair of the Gwinnett House Delegation, former Atlanta Falcon, and former president of the Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council. Welcome, Dewey.
Well, glad to be here. Thank you all for having me here today, and look forward to just to share and make sure that everybody knows what we're doing and how we can get things moving in Gwinnett County and in the state of Georgia and wherever we can do those things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing I like about you is you have a lot of history in Georgia and Gwinnett, and I like to kind of go into, you said you started out around the Vietnam War era.
Oh, wow, Shelly. The 26th Amendment was the reason that a lot of us got involved. I was the first group to graduate. Well, I shouldn't say graduate, to vote. My class was the first class, the graduating class. 26th Amendment came in 1971. 1972, we put a group together for McGovern, and we felt good about that because that was the first time they allowed an 18-year-old to vote. And the reason that we voted that we pushed so hard, because then you had to be 21 to vote, but you could be 18 to go to Vietnam and die. And that was the problem. You could die and never vote. And we felt that was injustice. So, so all of the states everybody got together and pushed and fought. So, and I always tell folks it's a funny thing that if we'd have had McGovern, you'd have never had Watergate. If the folks would have voted with us, but they didn't. So,
Was it close?
No, it wasn't close. Nixon, he used every trick in the book, and McGovern, I've always said that us as Democrats, we try to play fair and righteous and good and everything else. Even our first lady said when they go low, we go high. And sometimes they may go even lower. So I'm not of that cloth. If you go low, 'cause I come out of football. Football, the low man win. You got to get lower than your opponent to get up under him to push him away. So therefore, I would never under the idea that you stood up high to let the man get up under you. So, but that was the reason that, in fact, it was so funny because I was just looking at I think I came by one time, I was looking at my first voter registration card, 1972, and my McGovern. It was so funny. I was in my office yesterday and I says, I guess these are real keepsakes here, But
For those who don't know what that is, could you describe what a voter card is?
the voter card is, back then they gave you a card that you had to take in. There was no ID on it. No picture. It just had your name on it. And then we were from a small town, so just about everybody knew almost everybody. And the voter registration card had your name on it. And in fact, it even had what party you were. And I was a Democrat then, and I'm a Democrat today. So it was just ironic that that's what you did. You had a card. You didn't. Nowadays, you got to have a license and a utility bill and a passport and whatever birth certificate with a picture. But anyway, back in the day, you just had a voter ID card that you showed.
Yeah. So would you say it's easier to vote now, or it was easier to vote then?
Oh, heck no. Heck no. When you went before, you went in and because your voter ID card was very popular. When I say very popular, because you had it, only you had it. And like I said, I still have mine today. So I say that to say that it was a lot easier because you showed the card and they looked you up, and that's kind of how you voted, because you had a number on the card.
So if it's harder now, like you said, would you say that was an active effort by the state or by any other party, or what happened there? What do you think?
Well, I always thought about that because voting it should be a civil right, should be a right to everybody. I just think that it just became part of the poll tax, the counting the marbles, how many grains of sand's in the jar, things like that, because it was, I go back to the time where instead of being African American, I was, you were colored or you were Negro, and then again, you go back and you say, well, how do you vote? And then you go back to the Constitution and you see how you are rated as a black person. So therefore, yes, I think it was, because if you didn't own land and if you didn't pay taxes, things of that nature, you couldn't vote.
So you're saying that it got harder since you started voting, and you're saying that it might be an active effort by the state, or by who exactly do you think?
I think it's an active effort by a party, a group of people, are saying, that sometimes they feel that you're not their equal. Believe me, separate but equal is a lie. You can't separate somebody and then say it's equal. And I believe that. So what I want us to realize is that some groups want you to vote. And I always tell people, if you go vote illegally, it's a fine. You can go to jail. Nobody is paying, $10,000 for you to go to jail and or be fined or be in prison for one vote. I don't think no one's doing it. I just think that what they're trying to do is scaring you not to vote.
Right.
Felons to do the same thing. They don't want felons to vote, but you paid your debt to society. You should be able to make things happen, and you should be able to vote.
I agree, but you know what I find more disheartening is that people around my age and Juan's age, we don't vote. We have the privilege and the right to vote, but we don't even use it. And when people like us sit out, we get the result of people like Donald Trump becoming elected president, just lack of civic engagement generally. So what do you think we could do to really raise civic engagement?
Well, that's got to be a cause. Right now, if what Donald Trump is doing now doesn't energize a base, every base, because he's firing everybody, he's laying people off. You just think about the things he said in reference to, I'm gonna end the war, on day one. Well, I don't know when day one. I guess we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I guess we don't have no day one. So I think that's the reason that it has not ended. Two, my egg prices have not done anything but went up. So when someone can just say things, it kind of remind me of Nixon back when I was 18 years. We were 18 years old. Nixon was just saying a whole lot of stuff, just anything out of his mouth, and people were just eating it up. And all I'm saying to you, we've got to get back to have a reason. And I think right now, the war is a reason. If you sit there and think Russia is not taking notice, we're wrong. If you think egg prices are going to go down, I don't know what's wrong with you. They're not going to go down. No one's going back. No one's going back. Us as Americans, as Native Americans or Black Americans or Hispanic, we're not going back. We're here to stay. So, we've got to realize that the only power we have is voting, and the young people got to realize that that's the only thing, the only equalizer that you have. If Donald Trump vote and you go vote against him, you cross him out. But if you don't do anything, then that's where the problem is.
Yep.
So we actually mentioned Nixon a few times, right?
Yeah. We had a name for him, and I think, history still calls him Tricky.
Okay, so
Tricky D.
So I'm not old enough to have been alive back then. I'm just old enough to have seen him in Futurama, right? Cartoon form, The Simpsons. Mm-hmm. Was he that bad?
Yeah, well, he was bad. Yes, because he was undermining. Watergate was that was a cover up from get go. When you decide to break into a building and get information and data and things of that nature, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing once you start abolishing the FBI, the CIA, and you create a organization called Doge, and you know what you're doing. And I think that we've got to make sure that we know that, and we make it hard on midterm. If your young folks want to come out, midterms coming up, 2026 is around the corner. That's 9 months. That's 9 months away or less. If you want to make a difference, right now is the time to make a difference. To tell Trump that I am not standing up for this, I am not. And if you can vote, you can vote. But the fact of it is, he wants to frighten you because there's people that look like me, people that look like you, so it's a frightening thing. The scare tactic is the Willie Horton. So we always call it the Willie Horton syndrome, where I want to scare you to not go vote. Right now I don't, it's because it just makes it hard for you. When I say makes it hard for you, I stop you. I want to see your license. I want to see your birth certificate. I want to see everything. It's like, oh, that looks fake. It ain't fake. It just that you fit the profile of someone that don't look like all vanilla.
Right. That's an issue that I see on the Republican side. There's some people out there with too much free time who are gathering names for ballot purges, and they're submitting it to their local board of elections. And that's what the other side is doing. They're trying to disenfranchise people without them even knowing. And by the time some of them go to try to vote, they realize they can't even vote because they've been knocked off the voter rolls.
Well, what you've said is true, and what you got to realize, they're only knocking off people that look, like to say that are brown or light brown or cream color.
Like a
they're not.
Lopez.
Yeah, that's number one. That's how you pass a litmus test. Regardless, you may be from Russia, you may be from the Netherlands or something, but because of the color of your skin, I'm gonna leave you on the voter roll. But because you're brown you shouldn't be on the voter roll. Mm-hmm. So yes, you're correct. And the fact is, sometimes people are, why do I vote? Because if you don't vote, you don't count, and then you get what we got. And if someone tell you that they're going to do some things, believe them.
I've got a question. Since you seem to have a lot of wisdom, many years on myself, Donald says he wants to make America great again. Was America ever great?
Well, it depends on who it was great for. Yeah, don't get me wrong. When you say great again, when was it great? Was it great in the 1800s? No. Was it great in the 1900s? No. Blacks could go and fight in the World War I, but then they would come back to the United States and be treated differently. World War II, Vietnam War, the same thing. So when was it great? So tell me. But have you ever noticed that he's never said when it was great? That right there, all this vagueness doesn't do well. So make it great again. Okay, so great again. Okay, when was it great? I think that's the question that we need to ask. When was it great?
I think some people would argue that when you could work 40 hours a week, have a house, have a car, have a family, that's not really attainable for most people in today's age, for young people like us. So some people would argue, oh hey, when that was possible through a normal 40-hour high school job, that's when it was great.
Well, that's a different great. That was affordable. Nothing stayed the same, and I always tell folks that, I find nickels and dimes on the ground. When I was a kid growing up, I couldn't find a penny on the ground, so I'm just trying to, I just want you to know that things change. I bought my first car, for $300 back in the late '60s. Wasn't a bad little car. I could go around the road, but you can't. But it wasn't required that I have insurance. It wasn't required that I had an inspection. It wasn't. I had an old car. Then all of a sudden, all the regulations came. So I don't ever think we're gonna go back to those not having regulations. But great again. I mean, it was hard. It was hard then. You're talking about now. You look at the minimum wage of Georgia. You look at $5.15 an hour. You know, I don't know what you think $5.15 an hour is, but you know that's less than almost $10,000 a year. If you multiply that times 40, so that's 40 times 515 is $200 a week, time 50 weeks. Okay, so that's $10,000. What could you do with $10,000? That's gross. So all I'm saying is, we've got to do better. If we're gonna make it, so was it great again when we were paying $5.15 an hour? I'm just I want to find out because we hadn't changed it. We have not changed the minimum wage in Georgia.
Actually, that's a good segue into a question I have about your previous votes, your previous bills. You're a champion of $15 an hour.
I've championed it ever since I've been there. I've been there since 2013, and I've dropped the $15 minimum wage every year. And this year I felt bad because 10 years ago, $15 an hour was, that wasn't, that was decent. Here it is right now. That 15 should be 25. I mean, 10 years with, you counting inflation, 3% a year times 12, that's 36%. So come on, it just helped me a little bit. 1, 2, 2 years ago, I thought I was biting off a lot. And so what did I do? 2 terms ago, I introduced legislation to pay the state workers of Georgia. We have workers that work for the state of Georgia that make less than $15 an hour. And we got a $16 billion surplus. These people help you amaze this surplus, and you can't pay them $15 an hour. They've got to be on SNAP. They got to be on TANF. They got to be on government assistance, or either they got to go try to find another job to work too. But then you still want to get some tax credits. But if I'm not making any money, I don't need any tax credits. I need some money.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's also why we're Democrats. I think the Democratic Party historically and to this day should be advocating for economic opportunity for people. Like you said, $5.15 is nothing in today's day and age. Adjusted for inflation, it used to be 15, it should be 25. But the Republican Party, they are adamant that there should be no minimum wage, that the marketplace will sort itself out. And on some level that's true because no person will accept a job less than $15. But we do need to legislate on some point and just create a floor. And I think bad economic theory, like, trickle down has permeated the culture. And how do we as Democrats message around that and make the general population understand that we do need a bare minimum wage?
Well, you've got to say that we're here for that. I mean, you talk about a minimum wage 15. You look at what a cost of living. You look at where you live. You look at what it takes for you to pay for rent. You look what it takes for you to pay for utilities. You look what it takes for you to buy clothes. You look what it takes for you to pay, pay for insurance. All I'm just saying is once you add all those things up, the big five I call them, you'll find out that you don't have anything. You are working poor. And what we have to try to do and what we need to do is explain to people, where do you want to be? You don't want to regulate? We're not regulating. No one needs to regulate anybody in the free market. It's not going to take care of it. Because, greed, when you have greed as a number one thing or a motivator, it's not going to work. And that's what, CEOs right now, you look at it. CEOs didn't stay down. CEOs went from making 20 times as much as a normal worker to 300 times a normal worker now. Come on, everything didn't rise together. It's kind of like they rose like this and you stayed still or you shrunk a little bit.
Right.
But you still got to realize that if they increase the minimum wage, the people will spend the money. They're not going to get 401ks. They're not going and put it under the mattress. They're not, they're not putting it in the bank. What they're doing is they living in a better place. Okay, they instead of eating Roman noodles all 3 times a day, maybe they might cut it to 2. All I'm saying is, it would help the economy if we raised minimum wage, because the low wage workers would spend that money on better things.
So would you say that state legislators, have a big part in how we live our lives day to day, as far as like economics go, more so than the federal government does, or?
Politics is local. So not only state legislators, but you're talking about county, you're talking about city, because see, there are a lot of counties who are paying their workers $15 an hour. There are a lot of cities who are paying their workers 15, because they want to take care of their workers. They want to keep their workers. But if the free market was to take over, it's like anything else. It's not going to take over. It's not going to help. What's going to help is us pushing, because nothing is given to you. You got to fight for it. You got to work for it. You got to say, not today. I'm not going back. I'm not turning around. And I don't tell people how to vote. I just say vote for people that have your interest at heart. If your interest at heart is $5 an hour, vote for them. But if your interest is $15 to $20 an hour, you need to vote for them. I mean, and that's, if someone tell you that you need to be on TANF and welfare and have free reduced lunches, you like that, go with them. But if someone says, no, that's no, you deserve better, once you get better and you do better, you want to stay better.
So with that said, voting locally is very important.
Local is number one, because that's the people you see. That's the people you touch. That's the people that have more effect on you than anybody of those. State, well, city and county is kind of city first, county, but where we live in unincorporated is county. State, well, it's one of those things that, so goes, Gwinnett, I always tell folks, so goes the state. When I moved here, we had 70,000 people. Now we're at 1 million, So all I'm saying to you is that local is one. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being the city council president. There's nothing wrong with being the mayor of a little small city. There's nothing wrong, because it gets you ready for the next level. And then it prepares you. And I think we need to make sure, Democrats need to make sure that they understand, if we take over locals, we'll take over the state.
So, question about when your local legislators let you down, how do you deal with that when your legislator just votes against your interest, the party's interest as well? And it seems kind of very self-centered. How would you deal with something like that?
Well, I mean, but you have to know the reason. Sometimes I always tell people, you have to know the reason. And I don't live in anyone's shoes. No one lives in mine. But if your party said, let's do this, I think you should do that. That's me. If you can't do that, then you cannot feel well and go to the restroom or go home for the day, because it was some excuse. There's always some excuses, but you need to make sure that anyone that does do that is not in leadership role, because once you see someone in a leadership role break, it means nothing, and that's one of the things that hopefully that our party is all parties understand. If you're in leadership, there's a you chose that. No one twists your arm, or no one got a baseball bat or anything. You chose that. So if you chose that, there's a responsibility that comes with it.
And that responsibility would be the great of the whole versus the great for yourself, over the great of yourself.
That's correct. Because it's not about you. It's not, it's about a team. I came out of a team sport. So, and when you come out of a team sport, there are no individual. If I was a boxer, it'd be something differently, because I'd be the one taking all the hits. but if you're a team, you need to move as a team. You go further.
I'd like to bring up a very recent vote that came up in the State House last week. Senate Bill 68, also known as tort reform, but more accurately, tort scam. What is you voted on it?
Yes, I voted no, because it is a scam. Insurance. Insurance is going up. Insurance is not. In fact, the Republican Speaker of the House in Florida is asking for an investigation of the insurance companies. But then we're gonna do it in reverse. I read recently that we're gonna have a study committee to study insurance companies. Well, it's too late now, because they've already gotten what they want. So you can do all the studying you want. But tort was something for the insurance companies, and your insurance rates are not going down. Your insurance rates are going to still keep going up, and so. But what I felt bad about was if a party of a jury of my peers is good enough, that has been good enough, and we've been the number one state to do business for all these years, for 11 years, I know. Why change? I was always told if it was not broke, don't break it, or if it was fixed, don't be trying to fix on it.
Yeah.
So, but to answer your question, that was a hard blow, because we did lose 3 in the House, and they lost 8 on their side, but those 3 hurt us pretty bad, because we need at least 2 of those to stay with the party.
So, just so folks know, a tort is essentially a civil wrong. If you're trying to sue somebody, you're suing them for a tort. A lot of us know that as assault. Assault is a tort as well as a crime. Battery is generally a crime, but you could sue for that. So what the state did, and Dewey, correct me if I'm wrong, is essentially voted to change the rules in favor of the insurance company and against people who are seeking retribution for the damages done to them. Does that sound about right?
That is correct. In essence, as I explained to one person, your arm as a doctor is worth $20,000, but my arm as somebody don't have no work is worth $2,000. It should not be that way. It should be based on, because my arm, like I said, my arm could be worth $1 million. But what you've got to realize, you can't put a cap on it. You should put a cap on it. If 12 jurors can make a decision on sending somebody to prison and doing all those things, I think they should be able to do the same with awarding compensation to someone that's been injured.
And this bill severely crippled that.
This bill severely took the wind out of the sails, knocked it off his feet, and you can be assured that the governor will be signing it.
Right. I have a question about that as well.
May I get on the 3 folks that he said detracted? And this is a hot topic, right? So there were 3 folks that detracted. Did you get to speak with any of them before? Well, first of all, who are they?
Everybody. I mean, it's all in the paper.
Yeah.
It's all. You had Representative Carl Gilliard out of the Savannah area. You have Representative Mac Jackson out of the Sandersville, kind of Augusta area that way, and then you have Representative Michelle Al, who's a physician by trade, and so those were the 3 Democrats that voted for the bill, and now why they did, I mean, they all have their reasons, but that's not it's not like they were not talked to. They were not the position. The Democratic caucus took a position, and when we don't take many positions, but when we take a position, you would like to have 100% participation. Okay. In fact, I can't think of some legislation in the past several years that we've taken a position on. We took a position on the voucher bill. We took a position on the heartbeat bill. I mean, because as Democrats, we feel that that a woman's right to choose is what should happen. And then with education, we were promised a public education, and I don't bother anybody that if you want to spend your money and send your child to a private school or charter school, you do what you want with your money. But I don't think we should be using public funds for charter schools or private schools.
So the Democratic Party took a position, and it sounds like you're saying it doesn't happen too often.
No, it doesn't. I've only known of those three.
My question is, it was a strong position. This bill, SB 68, was Brian Kemp's baby. This is exactly what he wanted to pass before he's no longer governor, and he is about to get his way. But do you believe that the Democratic Party should have really held the line and made sure that this bill died, and made sure that people like Dr. Al and the other two voted with the party?
I'm gonna be honest with you all. The makeup is 100 Republicans and 80 Democrats in the House.
Yeah.
8 Republicans voted no, and then there were several that were missing. But all I'm saying with you is, so they had 88 people there that voted for it. So we had 88, and then 8 vote for it. So 96 of their 100 was there. And I say that to say that what we have to say sometimes, just not today. It would have been not today, because he's already promised that if we did not pass tort reform, there was going to be a special session. And no one really wants a special session. Just give, since we're all just talking, what could have happened on that day if they had not, they would have asked for reconsideration. And so reconsideration would have been, they'd have voted on reconsideration, and they all vote to always reconsider when it's one of their bills. So the next day, so if it had not have passed on Thursday, it would have been brought up again on Friday. Yeah.
So you did mention, and again, back to the Democratic Party taking positions, right? Mm-hmm. You said we take a position based on things that we believe in fundamentally as a party.
We believe 100% in.
We believe
100%.
People should have a right to education.
Yes.
We believe women should have a autonomy over their bodies.
Yes.
Why did we take a position on this specific bill?
Because we felt that that people have a right to a jury of their peers. Jury of their peers to decide on what their damages should be, not insurance companies, and not capping.
So for those who voted no, would you say they skirted that fundamental idea?
I say that they are not. I can say that they did. I mean, but that's me speaking. I'm not in their shoes. I didn't receive phone calls or I don't know what was offered, how it was, or how it was presented to them. But I can say that the governor was going around saying that he's got 10 Democrats in his pocket, and because to take over for the losses that he knew he was going to have in his own party, but that didn't. He only had 3, so I guess. And that was all he needed. But to answer your question, I have no idea about how it was presented to them to vote for that, because it was never presented to me that, would you vote for this? Because you have to realize there are 3 groups. There are 3 groups that are yes. That's one group. You got another group, it's hell no. And then you got the third group that's, that's why he said there were 10. And he had a list of 10, but I guess it didn't work out the way that he thought.
Is this something we could have prevented if we stood in unity? as per the.
If let me just say this: if
It would have
we,
passed, I'm sure.
it would have, well, because he would have came back to his group. Because like I said, it takes 91 to pass a bill. And there's 100 Republicans in the House, 100. So it would just so happen that day, eight of them voted no. Now the other four, I have no idea where they were. So I mean, I need to study that a little bit more because there's 100 and they voted no, so they're left 92. So I don't know if four went to the ropes or if they or they had to go to the restroom. I don't know, but I do know that that day it would have passed. We needed two of ours to back down because see that would have gave them 89. But if only one of those two backed down, so we needed two of the three because the speaker didn't vote. But if it had been 90, the speaker could have cast his vote because he is a state representative as well, and it had been 91. So we needed two of the three.
Seems to me like the bigger problem really is that we don't have enough votes to oppose the Republicans in the state legislature, and really, until we do, we can't pose a real threat and get our own agenda passed, let alone properly resist. So, what do you think we can do as the Democratic Party locally to really get more of our legislators elected?
Well, that's what we have to do, but we also have to ask that question. How are you on certain issues? Because see, policy is one thing that we make. And my only concern that I have is that we elect some of the people for the wrong reasons. Need to spend a little time in the community. We need to make sure that whatever we do, we stay on top of them. Hold them accountable. When I say hold people accountable, it's nothing wrong with, but it's a constituent. Now, if your constituent would have voted differently, then you can call your, and that's kind of how what I got was, my constituents are calling me to do this, and so you have to. Sometimes you have to support your constituents, but then sometimes you have to support your party. So, and I'll take a hit from my constituents because I could not support it. If all my constituents would have called me and said, Dewey, I need you to support this, it'd been like not happening in 2025. And you do what you do best.
Right. And I guess it goes to what happened locally with our own Gwinnett, school board. They voted to fire the superintendent, Watts.
Which one? Oh,
Dr.
okay.
Watts.
Okay.
And
Another one.
and within the Democratic Party, there was already a bit of a rift on that one because it seemed like an unjust firing, and to some people it seemed justified, and nobody quite knows what happened. But I know that there was a bill proposed at the state legislature,
HB 767.
HB 767, and it was to address that issue. And I'm sure you've gotten people criticizing you for being fully behind that. But what was your reasoning for doing that?
Can
we describe what the bill was?
Okay, well, let me help. HB 767, everybody has a role, and the school board has a role, the state legislature will have a role, but superintendent has a role. The board can fire and hire a superintendent. In the state, I can give them policies, and I can cut their funds to a minimum $50 per meeting. So that's my lane. That's the only thing. I can't tell them who to hire as a superintendent. I can't tell them when to fire them. I can't tell them anything like that. I can only say, in the future, HB 767 had two parts. One part was in the future, if you fire another superintendent and we have a payout, your salary will go down to $50 until the superintendent payout is paid off. So that was part one. And part two was which was allowed the school board to talk openly, freely to the media and their constituents. The First Amendment right. So those were the two parts in HB 767. Yes, I've been on a 200 to 300 to 1. 300 says yes, we're paying people say, well, Dewey, you saying 1.3 million? I can only just tell you what I read in the paper because I don't know. It's not open records. It's not public records. But if someone says that the previous superintendent, Alvin Wilbanks, is receiving $580,000 for his 2 years that when you all let him go, and you've got Calvin, Watts, who's receiving $750,000 for his 2 years or whatever when y'all let him go. I just added them together, and that's how I got 1.3. Mm-hmm. If I'm wrong, just say it's a little more than 1.3, but 750 and 580 is 1.3, a little over. But they says, do it. I said, I don't know. You want to tell me the right answer? And they says, well, we can't talk about personnel matters. So that was the reason. But I'm getting around roughly about 300 to 1 on that bill. And the only one I got was someone from GAE, and he said only reason I don't think it's a good bill because the president of GAE said it was not a good bill. I'm saying, okay, that's not what you asked me not to do it, but you're not telling me why. I've asked everybody. I'll even ask you too. So what's wrong with the bill? I didn't say it was not retaliation. It's not retribution. I don't know. Retaliation is if I did something that says you're going to have to do it for what you did in the past. I didn't. I said what you did in the future, what's going to happen in the future. So it was not anything.
The way I interpret it, it means that you're ultimately trying to save the taxpayers' money and make sure that it is well allocated, because I think, the current school board did not factor in the future cost that that's going to incur on the local citizens of Gwinnett County when they made their decision to fire. But certainly the Republicans have brought it up, and I think this is probably one of the areas where the Democratic Party could work on, make sure that we're not doing anything crazy that just, tarnishes the brand. We need to, come off as reasonable and productive.
Michelle, I'm going to tell you what, Democrat, Republican, I based what I did on decisions. Whoever made these decisions. And I got calls from all school boards, the ones who voted to terminate it, the ones who voted not to terminate it. But when we make law, law is made for everybody. The two that didn't terminate him, voted to keep him, they're in the same battle right. that everybody else is in. So, but that's the law. What I did was based on decisions. I want you to make better decisions. I don't care who you are. We did some stuff a couple of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, when we made school board nonpartisan. I want people to know that I don't do any bashing. I do decisions. What anything that I do is based on a decision that someone makes. And taxpayers should not be on the hook for $1.3 million for someone not to work. I'm sorry. That's my tax dollars. That's your tax dollars. That's anybody who lives in Gwinnett County tax dollars. So yes, I've been getting 300 to 1 based on what we propose. We will be speaking about it again next week. I have the day 37 to have it brought out. The chair of the Intergovernmental Government Committee has it, and we've talked about it. And I want us to make sure that whatever we do it.
Right.
But then my job is to protect the funds, the money of the citizens of Gwinnett.
And I respect that, and ultimately, I wanted our audience to hear that from your perspective, and I largely agree with your perspective that we need to be good stewards of the money we have. And so, whoever disagrees with you, they're free to disagree, and you're free to disagree with them. I think it's just about having a civil conversation and really explaining where you're coming from. That's all we can really do.
Well, and that's what I'm explaining. I'm still asking you. So, what do you not like about the bill? I mean,
I'm fine with it, frankly.
okay, you fine with it. So,
Well, I've read that some folks would say that the superintendent becomes damn near unfireable because you don't want to lose your compensation as a school board member. That's one of the criticisms.
okay. Well, who hired him? So should I be responsible to pay something that you hired, or should you be responsible to pay something that you hired? And I'm just so my answer to that will be you hired him. So if you hired him, it's kind of like the preacher said one day when he was on the church. You put the man to sleep. He said, "You put him to sleep. You wake him up." okay. Are you feeling me?
No, for sure. But one of the things as well is because I'm an attorney. One of the things that happens with these sorts of contracts is you do get a payout, but most of the times when you get a payout is because the other party severed the contract for no good cause. So there is a way to fire a superintendent if they violated their contract, from my understanding. Did you understand that to be true as well?
Yeah, but I mean, but since you fired me without cause, so therefore now you got to pay him.
Right.
Yeah.
But so I go back one more time. Is it my fault, or is it the person who hired him fault? I stayed in my lane. My lane was the only thing I could do was cut your pay. That's the only thing I could do. Now, if if it was retaliation or retribution, I'd have said cut your pay for the last from the person you fired, but I did not. I said in the future. So this makes you vet whomever you're gonna hire the next time, that you do a good job of doing what you need to do, because if you don't,
There's consequences.
thank you. And everything everybody does, there are consequences in what you do. If I'm wrong, just say you're wrong. I don't need nilly-willy. Just spend taxpayer money. I like to be getting $1.3 million not to work, not to show up.
Would you say that's one of the hardest votes you've had to cast, or is there another one that comes to mind?
I haven't cast. I mean, it's one of the roughest bills because I authored the bill. I didn't, the piece of legislation.
Right.
But it was only after a lack of communication, and I think we've got past that. I think we've got, because just like I explained to them and I'll explain to anybody, we represent the same people. It's just the problem is you represent the people, the children in the school. I represent the parents and the children in the school.
That's right.
There's a difference, okay? And there's 22 of us, and there's only 5 of you. I gave them some options. Maybe, when we had 70,000 people, we had 5 school board members. 70,000 people. We didn't have 70,000 students. We got 182,000 students in the school system. But when we had 14,000, 15,000 students in the school system, we had 5 school board members.
Right.
Now we got 180. And we still got 5 school board members.
That's not mathing.
Well, that's all I'm saying. But they lack 5. So all I'm saying is, I made a suggestion. Let's increase it. That's but they ain't like that either. But I can do that too. But that's not something I want to do. I want us to communicate. I want us to talk about things. I want us to work together. I don't want to be us and them.
Right. Yeah. So what would you say is like another difficult thing you've had to deal with in your public life? What would you say?
Well, I mean, my public life is just a little different because I am a former pro football player. And one of the things that, just to get off the subject just a little bit is that you've got to realize in the NFL they want to go to 18 games, but they have a contract. Contract says that 17 is the max, which I was part of in 2020. I negotiated. I was on the negotiating team to negotiate that contract that will last from 2020 to 2030. So I'm just saying that that's, when I came in the league in 76, we had 14 games. In 78, they went to 16 games and 4 preseason. Now they want to go to 18 games. And I'm saying that because I want you to know that if there's a contract, you got to follow the contract. Yeah. You as an attorney, you know that. So the owners want to renegotiate because they really want that 18th game. But I don't know what the will of the people are, but all I'm saying is if the ball's in your court, you need to make sure you get exactly what you can get. And it was a difficult thing for me to spend 7 years from 2013 to 2020 negotiating that contract for former players. Right. And giving the active players what took place when we were not strong, because we were not strong in '78 in the NFL. The players were not strong. The NFL was strong because the NFL, when they went from 14 games to 16 games, they just took your money and divided it up. They didn't give you any additional. So now I told the players, you all shouldn't do that. If you don't have a contract, you need to get a game check. And that's what the owners eventually said, that's what we should do. Because they wanted to cap the game check at $250 or $300, Aaron Rodgers said, I get $1 million a game. I can't go play. I can't go play for $300. Not when I get $1 million. So all I'm saying to you is that was hard. Right. But the HB 714 was probably one of my hardest times, and that was during the snowstorm. Now we're going back to the elected official. HB 714, that took away the unemployment away from the school bus drivers. It was just right after the big snow began. You all was probably here about 10, 11 years ago.
Like 2013?
2013, roughly.
Yeah, 2013, 2014, yeah.
And then like the highways were frozen. Cars everywhere.
Cars everywhere. School bus drivers staying with your kids, and and getting them home and everything, and everybody getting accolades and resolutions, and the next week you take away the school bus drivers' unemployment. I'm saying they've been getting it for 50 years.
Right.
It just made me, go to the well and says, I thought this group had some passion and compassion, but I see you don't. Because last week you were talking about how great the bus drivers were, and now you penalize them because the last 50 years, during the summer months and the Christmas month, they were getting a little unemployment check because they wasn't working.
Right.
Because they wasn't getting paid either. So, but you took that away. So HB 714 is my Waterloo that will always be in my mind.
Understood. So imagine if I waved a magic wand and we got 5 Democrats elected to the State House next term. What would your legislative priority be to really pass aggressively?
Replacing Republicans, just to make sure.
Yes, replacing Republicans.
Yeah. It'd be 85-95. See, if you're talking about 85-95, you moving. You moving the needle.
Yes.
But 91 is what you need.
That is what we need. But let's say we only got 5.
But if you only got 5, 85. Then I go with a little more strength. And I always tell folks, even in Gwinnett, when I first came to the House in Gwinnett in 2013, it was 6 Democrats and 13 Republicans. In the House delegation. Okay, let's fast forward now. Okay, it's 22 of us in the House, 13 Democrats, and 9 Republicans. So, I'm just saying now, but back then when I first came in, local legislation was local. Freeberry, because I call it Freeberry. It was different. They would have brought it through local because they had in local legislation, you have to have 50% plus one. You must have at least 12 members to sign, because 50% plus one is half of 22 is 11, and you have to have 12. And for me to get, and what I did on HB 767, I have 12. There are 5 Republicans and 7 Democrats, just kind of how the breakup is. But I say that to say that now what they're doing, you said 85, 90, so now they're making Mulberry a general bill, because they can't get 12 locals to sign on to it, because they don't have enough. But what they have to do now is make it a general bill where they take it to the House. And that's why Mulberry was voted on as a general bill, that people voted from South Georgia, North Georgia, that have no idea about what's going on in Gwinnett. So 85 is a good number, but 91 is the number.
I agree, and the Democrats should be aiming for 91 and then some, because we're never going to, get things like, corporate price gouging. I've seen that a lot of corporate landlords in the Metro Atlanta area are kind of using algorithms to fix their prices artificially high, and it hurts, renters. They have less disposable income to, buy groceries and pay for their kids. And ultimately, this is one of the ways that the Republican Party is kind of patting the corporations. So what can we do on the state level to really, fix that situation?
Well, that's what, get 91.
Get 91.
Get 91. It should, you need to get 91. And you need to let people know, because people are not getting the information. I think if anything, we all people know your messaging. I get tired. Well, what is your message? Your message should be, this is what's happening. Just lay the facts out. This is what's happening. What's happening is day one is not a day. We got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. My egg prices, I mean, they're going up. They're not going down. My gas, it's going up. Groceries going up. So, and my salary is not going up the way that everything else is going up.
Right.
So, you think getting rid of laying off CDC, FBI, or Department of Education? So you're putting people in the streets. This is so. There's no way that you're gonna tell me that when you get the job market reports that they went down. Now when you laying off people, the math doesn't add up. What you're doing does not add up.
Right.
So if you sit up here and tell me that you done laid off thousands of people, and that the job market has declined, that's got to be a lie, and the truth ain't in you.
And I guess that's the problem. The general population, there's a lot they do not know. And one of the reasons this podcast exists is because in Gwinnett County and Georgia, we need to raise public consciousness and awareness of these issues so that they can go to the polls armed with better information.
Yeah. And that's why I said to you all, and I said about HB 767. Tell me what you don't like. I heard Juan say, but I already told him, this is future, and I wouldn't. It's not hamstringing anybody. It makes you think more. It's like, if I do this, this is what's going to happen to me. But if you've been doing this and nothing happened to you, hey, you're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
At least I think you will.
You're creating a disincentive.
Right. So at least now, it's something that you think about, and then the person that you hire, he knows it too. Because one of the things they told me was that it was going to hurt them recruiting anybody. I said no, because if I know that you can't fire me without good cause,
I might even apply. I'll apply.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think that's a hindrance. Can you come up with something else? But that's what I've always asked people. Tell me what you don't like about it, because I wish I could make everybody happy, but like I told someone this morning, I'll take the 99% over the 1, because it is what it is.
Right. And I guess to kind of wrap this up, I know that you have been faithfully serving since, like, I don't know, 2014, 2015?
No, I was elected I was elected 2013
2013.
in a special.
Yes.
I came midterm, and I was sworn in December 5th, 2013. So I took my first year was 2014. This is my 12th year in the House. As some people say, I'm the dean of the delegation. That's
Right.
House and Senate, because they all came after I did.
Right. And, you know, for a good while, you were also unopposed. And
For a good while, I'm sorry, Shelley. I've I've had 7 races. Well, really 14 races,
Yeah.
13 races. But I've never had an opposition. All my ballots are the same. Only because, like I said, my district is
right.
I'm in the middle. This is my district ends right here at 85. And it goes to Highway 29, and it goes to Harrington Road,
Right.
and the Beaver Run Road. So it's my old jogging track. And
I guess when I looked into it, I saw he was never opposed, and I was like, "What is the reason why he was never opposed?" And then over time, I got to know you, and I realized it's like, "Oh, it's because you're the man. Like nobody wants to oppose you."
which I don't think, well, because people can talk to me. I mean, what I'm saying is that I'll be happy to listen.
You're very approachable.
I'll be happy to listen, and if I can help, I want to help. And just like I said, I want the people to know that since I did drop HB 767, everybody's communicating. We're talking. I mean, and we're gonna move forward. And I mean, that's all anybody wants. But sometimes you have to make people realize everybody's got a job to do, and my job is to protect the citizens of Gwinnett.
Right. All right. Thank you, Representative Dewey McClain.
Shelley, thank you. Juan, thank y'all very much for allowing me to come in. Hey, please, again, like I said, it's one of those things that I think we need to make sure that the people of Gwinnett are aware that people are working for them, but they've got to get out and work too.